Morning, welcome, and there's so many agencies represented here. My job this morning is to introduce the mayor, but I want to tell you what's going on right now. We're holding a tabletop exercise. And Fleet Week isn't something that happens once a year, it happens all year round. And we're working to improve the readiness of the city and county of San Francisco. With that, I'd like to introduce Mayor Ed Lee, and he's our biggest supporter. Ed?
Thank you, General Myatt, for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for everything that you are doing for our city and continue to help us lead our Fleet Week Association and the work that you do behind it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our announcement. It's been a long time in coming, but Fleet Week is back in San Francisco. And that's a wonderful thing. As much as we missed it last year, it kind of reminds us as to how important it is to renew the relationships we have with our military forces, to celebrate the men and women in our uniforms that are protecting our country, but also to practice continually what we have done with Fleet Week and with all of the different agencies that can match up with our emergency management operations, our police and fire, our port, our recreation and park departments. All of the various agencies have a very unique opportunity to practice what I think is most challenging in a major disaster, and that is logistics. And I'm a big logistics guy. I don't know about all of you, but having worked in public works and the city administrator's office, I value the role of logistics, and I know the experts in logistics are standing right here to both of my sides, the men and women in military, because they deal with it every single day. But I also hearken back to a big thanks to Senator Feinstein, who initially brought back the Fleet Week to San Francisco. There's a great history of our city and the entire Bay Area region celebrating the arrival of ships as early as 1908, to be quite candid with you. And in fact, I do remind my friends in Chinatown that Portsmouth Square is named after one of the first official fleets that arrived in San Francisco, the U.S.S. Portsmouth. And it is also as important as celebrating their role in protecting our country and the defense of our country. More and more, our military forces are asked, if not demanded, to provide the humanitarian service around the world. This is essentially the role that I think our military is playing more and more often, is responding to disasters, whether man-made or natural, across the world, and that they're learning and they're bringing, and we get the opportunity, quite frankly, to get that experience that they have and bring it into our preparation and our planning and our exercises. And it should be no surprise to all of you that over 150 first responders and emergency planners have been working this morning to do that very exercise, the tabletop exercise. In fact, I think they were practicing a 7.6 magnitude simulation of an earthquake on the San Andreas Fault. We're getting that specific. We're also reviewing constantly the roles that everybody will play in the recovery, but the first responders, we're practicing on the tabletop basis, the search and rescue operations, where to put the medical arrivals, how to use parts of the city, and in fact encourage residents of our city to be prepared to work with our military, practicing over and over again. And the military forces are no different than city agencies, to be quite candid. People change. And so every year it's an opportunity not just celebrate, but also to practice, I think, one of the most important things that we are getting ready for. And of course, I'm going to say, and all of you will know and anticipate that the South Napa earthquake was a reminder. It was a wake-up call for everybody that what we do on an annual basis here, what we do on a daily basis at our Department of Emergency Management, our practice with our number of agencies that are here today that are wanting to not only celebrate this, but to get into the practice continues to remind us how necessary it is to prepare and be ready. I also want to give a shout out that in addition to the Navy, the Marines, the armed forces that arrive here, we constantly have the presence and the practice of our U.S.S, our Coast Guard. They're here all the time, and they're going to be here doing all the kinds of things that protect everyone that is using the waterways as we welcome in the ships and celebrate this wonderful annual celebration. The Coast Guard's been there operating and making sure the vessels that we see every day and the ports that we use every day and the cruise ships that we want to arrive every single day are safely harbored and exit and ingress our bay in a safe manner. One of these days, I'm going to probably get on those Legend-class cutters just to see what they're like. But it is our bay, and it's one that we have celebrated, particularly the years past when we had the America's Cup. We were able to use that event to really build improvements along our waterfront. And I know Monique is always excited to show off the Jefferson Street improvements that we have, the Brandon Street Wharf, and of course, in a couple of weeks, we get to celebrate a wonderful, beautiful cruise ship that I had a chance to visit the other day. You know, also, as part of Fleet Week, we get to welcome back the Blue Angels. And that's exciting for everybody. I prefer that noise to some of the other noise that I hear a lot. But I'm excited for that. Of course, our kids and our families and the families of our military, as well as just ordinary folks throughout the city, enjoy seeing these flights of our Air Forces all around, or Navy all around the city, and we look forward to that celebration. I also want to just take, again, the opportunity to thank our honorary co-chairs, and again, I thank our General, Mayet, and also our co-chairs, former Secretary George Shultz and Senator Feinstein, for their leadership in making sure that this event happens in the right way. And then give a big, big shout out to Louis LOEVEN and his crew at the SF Fleet Week Association. I know that you've been anxious to get this back. I do think that in the backdrop of not having it last year, this is even more meaningful and more exciting for a lot of people. Again, I want to thank our police chief, who's working very hard to make sure that everybody is safe here, but he also, along with our fire chief, gets to be part of the planning exercises and the practice that it will constantly take. We have Mr. Odolini, who is our chief resilience officer, if you will, that we have been able to have recognized, and his work recognized, and all the work that we're doing to make our city safer, particularly when it comes to soft story buildings. And now we're on to private schools, and we're on to a number of things, including the next phase of where temporary housing will be in case a major disaster hits. All of this happens with the collaboration of our departments, from our airport to our port, to our MTA and our public safety agencies, all working together with me, with the Fleet Association, to hook up, if you will, to build relationships with our military armed forces, to make sure we know each other, so it will not be the first time we talk to each other when a disaster hits. We will have practiced that. We will have systems down. We will know where to go and make the priorities better. This is what Fleet Week means to me. All of these things, and the fact that we get to celebrate the men and women who, by the way, oftentimes are here, they're away from their families, and I know that sometimes that's hard for the men and women that serve our services, but I'd like to have them think of San Francisco as kind of their second home whenever and wherever they are stationed. So thank you very much for joining me on this occasion, and we look forward. I can't wait for Fleet Week to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Ann KRONENBERG, the Director of the San Francisco Department of Emergency Management. We all know that the road to recovery happens a long time before the earth starts shaking. And I think it is evident today as you see the individuals on either side of me, how important this Fleet Week and the humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, educational senior leadership seminars that we do are, because you see, you have fire, you have our NERT volunteers, you have the Navy, you have our police officers, the Marines, the Army, our emergency managers. This is our opportunity to get to know one another, as the mayor said, for us to put names and faces together and to learn the language that we speak, because we all have our different acronyms. If you go over, it's really moving. If you look at the tabletop exercise that's going on, we have 140 different agencies represented today. When you think about all of the different kinds of plans that we come up with, that we work together, it's imperative that we know each other, that we drill in advance, and Fleet Week gives us the opportunity to do that. I wanted to just go over a few of the things that are going to happen this year in Fleet Week, very exciting. On Monday, October 6th, we're following a simulated catastrophic earthquake. The Marines will deliver the medical shock trauma platoon to San Francisco. The platoon will be delivered on the MV-22 Osprey aircraft. That's something to see if you haven't. It takes off and lands like a helicopter, but it flies like a plane. The platoon will then travel to San Francisco General Hospital and set up emergency medical operations. On Tuesday, October 7th, we'll see a demonstration of military, civilian, and nonprofit working dogs at Jefferson Square Park. This is my favorite activity because I am a canine lover. So I wanted it across the street from our Emergency Operations Center. You're going to have the opportunity at our event, Bark at the Park, to see what our military dogs do in terms of search and rescue. We also will have our fire dogs and our police dogs there. We're working also with the canine companions up out of San Rafael. So it's really, I think it will be a very exciting event. I hope you can all come. And if you haven't seen our Emergency Operations Center, you can walk across the street after that event and have a little tour. On Thursday, October 9th, we're hosting a senior leaders seminar right here at Marines Memorial Club. Senior military and civilian leaders will discuss various aspects of domestic and international disaster response. And then on Friday, October 10th, the fire department will conduct the urban search and rescue training to sailors and Marines at the fire department training facility at Treasure Island. This is a very important cross-training event that we have done now. I think this is the fourth time that we've done it. And we've gotten feedback from the sailors and the Marines how they have been able to use what they learned in the USART training in real-life response activities in Japan, I believe. So very important. For the press that are here, there's a handout in your packet which details some of the higher profile Fleet Week events. You can also visit www.fleetweeksf.org. And on that note, I would like to introduce a gentleman I just met this morning, but am very impressed with. He is one of our key Fleet Week partners, Rear Admiral Patrick PIERCEY. Admiral PIERCEY is the commander of Carrier Strike Group 9. Admiral PIERCEY, if you could come up.
Well, good morning, and thank you for that kind introduction. It's a special moment for me, actually, to come back to San Francisco. I went, doesn't seem like it's 45 years ago, but I was here for second and third grade, so back in the late 60s. So I want to give a special thanks to Mayor Lee, to General Myatt, to the Fleet Week Association, and to the countless volunteers that are making Fleet Week a success already, that have made Fleet Week a success, but also is symbolic of the dedication of the people in the San Francisco area in honoring our sea services. Mr. Mayor, I want to tell you up front, I'm impressed by what I've seen. I'm impressed by the commitment to being ready to ensure that everyone is ready to deliver the services that the citizens in San Francisco and the county will expect in a disaster. And so that sense of commitment, that sense of duty, I think is truly remarkable. I'm honored to announce that your Navy is back for Fleet Week 2014. We look forward to our sailors and ships returning for Fleet Week this year so everyone in the Bay Area can see their Navy firsthand once again. We're proud to showcase the greatest sailors and fleet in the world, represented by the ships that will be visiting the U.S.S. America, the U.S.S. Chosin, and the U.S.S. Kidd. U.S.S. America, the Navy's newest ship, will be commissioned right here in San Francisco during Fleet Week. And I can't imagine a better place for America to begin her service in our Navy. We're also happy that the Navy Blue Angels will be back performing again this year. The Navy prides itself in being where it matters, when it matters, and we remain committed to our strong relationship with San Francisco. The United States is a maritime nation, and San Francisco is our gateway to the Pacific. Our prosperity and interests reach far into the Pacific, and that's why the Navy and San Francisco share such an important relationship far beyond that of Fleet Week. We work together with this great city to build relationships between local, state, and federal officials and the military so we are ready to respond to emergencies or natural disasters. Improving emergency preparedness has been a central part of San Francisco Fleet Week, and we continue to strengthen the understanding and confidence that the military is ready to support civil authorities to support you if called upon. In closing, we're delighted to be back. We look forward to meeting with the people of this great city and sharing with you the pride we have in our Navy. I encourage you to meet your sailors. They are amazing. They represent our finest and the richness of our great nation. They are pursuing the American dream by volunteering to serve their country. You'll be impressed. Now I'd like to introduce General MALAVET, the Commanding General of 1st Med.
Well, thank you, Pat, for that very gracious and warm introduction. Good morning, everyone. This is an honor. On behalf of the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General James Amos, I would like to thank Mayor Lee and the citizens of San Francisco. Your warmth and hospitality is truly amazing. We're excited about the opportunity to once again participate in Fleet Week this year. We clearly recognize that we are only a small part of a much larger picture. Everyone, from the city to the state of California to FEMA, have worked closely together to prepare for the next earthquake. However, we know that we bring a unique and powerful capability to the people of San Francisco in the event of a disaster. This is really about teamwork for a common purpose and a noble cause. These are common patriotic and historical threads that are woven through our collective profession for response and restoration and recovery. In fact, there is no better symbol and example than where we are standing here today. In 1946, when the Commandant of the Marine Corps, then General Alexander Vandergrift, proposed a living memorial to the Marine casualties from the war in the Pacific, a group of Marines arranged to buy a building located on the corner of Mason and Sutter Streets. Right here, still standing and open today, is the Marines Memorial Club. The closeness of the relationship between the city and the military services is due in large part to the efforts, spirit, and dedication of the Marine Memorial Association. Their tireless efforts have brought to San Francisco and the Navy Marine Corps team much closer together. It serves as our West Coast Museum for the Marine Corps. However, our history is your history too. Much like the greatest generation, the men and women who serve today feel a call to duty and a deep desire to give back to the communities that raised them. In fact, many of the Marines you will see here in the city during Fleet Week will literally be returning home from commitments overseas to the Bay Area and to their hometown communities. Simply stated, Fleet Week helps us to respond better to international emergencies, such as those we see in the Asia Pacific, Japan, the Philippines, and for America's security. So we thank you for allowing us to be a small part of this great training opportunity. No doubt, this is important. It is purposeful. It is my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce the Executive Director of the San Francisco Fleet Week Association, Mr. Louis LOEVEN. Again, thank you. Semper Fidelis.
Thank you, General. And thank you, Mayor Lee. Mayor Ed Lee, I've known him for a long time. When I was working for the city, before I was working for the city, he has always been committed to the mission of disaster response. And I have to tell you that he and his administration are so supportive of San Francisco Fleet Week. We have a lot of people in the rooms outside from agencies, the Department of Emergency Management, from the Port of San Francisco, a myriad of agencies in San Francisco. We have a number of people representing the organizations that are here today. We have Captain Gregory Stump, who is the captain of the port of San Francisco from the U.S. Coast Guard. And sitting next to him is Monique Moyer from the Port of San Francisco. The people of the Port of San Francisco, they bend over backwards to make sure that Fleet Week happens. We couldn't ask for better partners. We have Headquarters Marine Corps represented with Mr. Randy Smith of the PP&O organization. We have Colonel Gregory Butts, who's the Defense Coordinating Officer. We have, of course, Chief Sir. We have Ed Riskin from the MTA here. These are all people who are supporting the effort. Today, the fire department is represented with Deputy Chief Ray Guzman. Patrick Odolini, who was talked about earlier, heading up the resiliency efforts, making sure communities are restored after earthquakes or whatever disaster may come to our city. Cynthia Chimonio of the Oakland Office of Emergency Services. And of course, we have some staff from Senator Feinstein's office and staff from Senator Marcolino's office. But the fabric of Fleet Week is large and complex. And I want to tell you, having the military here working hand in hand with the city, with the private sector, with the non-government organizations, it makes our city better prepared. And I want to assure you that there is absolutely no better humanitarian assistance provider in the world, bar none, than the United States military. When a U.S. naval ship shows up off the coast of Indonesia, it really means something after a tsunami. When the Osprey V-22 start landing in the Philippines with medical supplies and logistics capabilities, it really means something to our friends and a lot of our family. There's a Filipino community here. It really means something to those countries, and it does an incredible amount of good for the United States. So I want to thank the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Army, the Air Force. They're all involved with Fleet Week. It says Fleet Week is a traditional name, but I want to promise you that the multi-agency capabilities that are being discussed, they run the gamut. We have the Blue Angels. We have a parade of ships. We have a humanitarian assistance village that will be set up on the Marina Green. The Marines will set up what they call a shock trauma platoon. It's what you and I, in a lay perspective, would think of as a field hospital. Forward operating surgical capabilities will be demonstrated. Water is being siphoned out of the bay and handed out as fresh water to passersby, demonstrating the capabilities of the U.S. military, as well as the partners that we all have in city, federal, state, civilian life. They'll be out there with their command vehicles and providing education to the public on how to prepare, how to respond, and how to recover from disastrous events. The most interesting thing you'll find if you visit the Humanitarian Assistance Village is not so much the gear that you see, that's the draw, but when you start talking to the Lance Corporal from the Marine Corps, or you start talking to a young Navy lieutenant out there who's a docent tour of the field hospital, what you come to realize is they really are the cream of the crop of this country. These men and women are smart, motivated, patriotic, and they simply want to help. To that, Fleet Week is launching. It is a year-round event. We have the tabletop exercise taking place. We have a website, fleetweeksf.org. Please take a look. You'll find out that Fleet Week is paid for by donations from private companies, from grants from the city, and from other governments. It touches so many places. And by taking a look at that website, you'll see some great pictures, and you'll see the calendar of events, so I encourage you to do so. With that, I want to say that questions won't be taken from the podium, but rather the speakers today will be available in the library for discussions, and I believe that you'll be offered a tour of the tabletop exercise taken through the rooms to see what's taking place there. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. Thank you, Mayor Lee, and have a nice day.